welcome to the Webcast for Monday, December 1st. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. We're starting December off with yet another day of widespread low clouds and tule fog across the Central Valley, with a few high clouds drifting overhead as well. There's also a little bit of marine layer cloudiness and fog across Southern California, although it is pretty limited. Most areas away from the Central Valley will see plenty of sunshine today, and we may see that tule fog clear up a little bit more this afternoon than it has lately, but it will still be a slow process at best. We have some offshore flow across the region this morning. That's what's keeping the marine influence limited over Southern California and will continue to scour out any remaining low clouds across the south coast this morning. The winds are not too strong. Here are the latest observations with the wind gust values shown in red. It's mostly local northeast to east winds of 10 to 20 miles per hour with gusts to 35 miles per hour through the usual wind-prone corridors, with a couple isolated gusts over 40 miles per hour. We'll see these winds continue through the midday hours, then start to weaken by later this afternoon. Here's a look at today's forecast highs, and they are pretty seasonable overall. We'll see highs mainly in the mid-60s to low 70s in the coastal valleys, 50s in the San Joaquin Valley with the tule fog, upper 50s to near 60 in the high desert, and mid-40s to low 50s in the lower mountains. Minimum humidity will be mainly between about 15 and 30% away from the much wetter San Joaquin Valley and its surrounding foothills. The weather pattern for this week is really a quiet one overall, with not a whole lot going on. It's more or less just a persistence pattern with high pressure centered just off the west coast and a couple of weak troughs passing to our east over the next few days. That's going to keep temperatures pretty consistent with not much change at all in the temperature or humidity numbers going all the way through the end of this week, just some minor and locally driven day-to-day variations. After the weak offshore flow event today, we'll see winds turn light by tonight, then get a quick burst of onshore flow on Tuesday. That, too, will not be impressive, but westerly winds of 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 miles per hour will surface across the interior mountain ridges and desert passes from late Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday morning. And then finally, we'll get one more burst of slightly stronger offshore flow by later Wednesday into Thursday, during which time northeast winds of 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts to 40 miles per hour will surface across the mountains and below the canyons and passes of Southern California, essentially a weak Santa Ana event. By Friday morning, winds will become light and remain that way through the weekend as high pressure becomes centered more overhead and pressure gradients weaken. And in an otherwise quiet pattern, perhaps the biggest story of the week will just be the continued dry conditions. Here's a modeled look at expected rainfall amounts over the next 7 days, and as you can see, it's nothing doing, not only for us, but for all of California. Thankfully, we've had a great jump start on our rainy season in November, but it does not look like we'll be adding to it through the first 10 days or so of December. The earliest indications of any change to a wetter pattern are looking towards or just before mid-month, and that's certainly not a high-confidence projection at this time. Here's a look at the 100-hour dead fuel moisture trends across South Ops as a whole. We've been on steady drying trends for a couple of weeks now ever since our big rains of November, and only now are most areas getting back towards either side of average for this time of year. And 1,000-hour dead fuel moistures are still well above average in most areas, as we still haven't had nearly enough time to meaningfully dry out the heavier dead fuels, particularly considering that while it has been dry from a rainfall perspective, we haven't been seeing much in the way of significant dry offshore wind events, and that trend looks to continue. Overall, this looks to be a pretty good week for burning, provided fuels are sufficiently dry, and that air quality concerns can be navigated around, as the stable air mass is definitely causing some air quality issues at the lower elevations. And of course, from a wildfire perspective, we have a strong green up present across the region, so that's going to continue to keep our significant fire potential near zero through this week. With another 7 to 10 days of at least gradual drying ahead, if we were to get a strong offshore wind event before our next rain event, that could yield at least a slight uptick in fire potential in any fuel beds that do have a high dead component. But there are currently no indications of such winds materializing, and even if they did, any fire threat would still be limited in scope given how much green-up we have. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. The next one will be on Wednesday, December 3rd.